welcome to DeKalb Tourism Talks. This is our second podcast as we get started, and we're lucky enough to have Andrew Keenan from Callanwolde Fine Arts Center. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, James. Good to be here.
Great you could be here. Tell us a little about yourself.
Sure. I have lived in Atlanta for, my daughter's 24 years. That's how you have to monitor by your kids' ages, right? 24
Definitely.
years. This is my third time in Atlanta, actually. And I have my career has mainly been in advertising. Did some work in environmental consulting, also in wealth management.
So you said it's your third time to Atlanta?
Third time.
So where are you originally from?
I'm from Michigan originally.
Oh, Mackinac Island area.
I actually worked on Mackinac Island. Yeah, as a bellman for a summer.
At the Grand?
No, at the Island House.
At the Island House, okay. Yeah, nice place
4
too.
floors and no elevators.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
got to be fun as a bellman.
I was in the best shape of my life. It was amazing.
Plus, you have to walk everywhere on the island. Anyway.
You got to walk or ride a bike. Actually, yeah. I rode
So
a
what
bike.
got you into the fine arts part? Because you said you're in fine arts, obviously.
Yep.
Environmental,
Yep.
financial manager,
Mhm.
bellman. So what
Yeah,
got you into fine arts?
I've had done a lot of things. So I come from a large family. My parents both met in art school. This is pre-World War II, and they raised 10 children.
Wow.
And one passed years and years ago, but all 9 of us were all in some way, some form or fashion did something with art. And my family, just like in most families, you learn to write your alphabet and numbers and everything. We were required to learn how to draw.
No.
So and I like to say I could teach anyone how to draw. It's just learning how to see. But I was always kind of known as the artist when I was in school, and ended up going to University of Michigan School of Art, and had full intention to becoming an art teacher. And then I went, how much do art teachers make? And then it was horrible. It's horrible to think that way, but it was tough. and it still is tough for teachers. I have so much respect for teachers, and what they have to, the compromises they have to make in their lives, and how many jobs they have to keep to do what they love. But I did that, and then I actually went in advertising for about 30 years.
Well, that fits well with art, so.
And I wasn't, although I wasn't on the creative side, interestingly enough, I was in what they call account management. I always like to say I was like Larry Tate, and Darren Stevens was the creative guy.
That's true, and
Yeah.
he was the boss.
Yeah.
And he managed the thing. And...
That's right. I had many friends that called me Larry Tate. Anyway, but
Well, that's an old. You can show our ages.
that was Bewitched. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
It took me a second. I'm sitting there like, I know that name.
Larry Tate.
Yeah.
That's right. But then I went on to get my MBA at Georgia State. So
Go Georgia State.
I'm kind of left brain, right brain kind of guy.
So how long ago? I think you got your MBA fairly recently, didn't you?
No, that was back in 2003.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought you were more recent.
Yeah. So and then I even so I had a company that measured carbon footprints, and when you do something like that, you have to know a lot about everything, and you have to know about alternative energy sources, and coal fire plants, and natural gas fire plants, and hydropower, and a lot of different things, and the carbon footprints that they create, and give us electricity and enable us to do these podcasts, things like that. So it was really interesting. It was and carbon offsetting, that was supposed to be the wave of the future, right, in 2008. And this little recession happened, and everybody kind of went, forget about the environment for a while, which is too bad. But it did enable me to get on a great board for a great nonprofit organization called Live Thrive, and helped create the Charm Center, Center for Hard to Recycle Materials, and which is in Grant Park, right next to the Beltline, matter of fact. And they're going to open up another one in DeKalb County, which is really fantastic. But yeah, then went into wealth management, financial planning. Actually helped a friend out, a good friend of mine, who was starting a business, and invest a little money with him to help him start out, and then also to get clients. But I soon learned that that's not what I wanted to do for a career now. And
that leads us to Callanwolde.
And that led me to Callanwolde. It kind of, I put all of that stuff together, and it helped me with my job now, which is I have to keep track of. I have to make sure Callanwolde is sustainable financially, and and my love for the arts and appreciation for the teachers and love of music with our concerts, and it's been really, really great. I actually was on the board at Callanwolde first for 11 years.
Oh, okay.
I started out by taking classes. That was like 20 years ago. And then found out about the board through a friend who was on the board. And then he encouraged me to get on. And then the next thing you know, I was president of the board. And now I'm executive director. It's been 5 years already, James. Can you believe that?
I can't believe that. It's
I know.
I'm half the time I've been here, I guess. I've been here, well, not quite half, but I've been here 12 years.
Yeah.
So if you look at Callanwolde, I think it's an amazing place. But I also am big into historical and architecture and homes. So I'm fascinated by its style, its architecture, and fascinated by it being one of the Koch mansions. But that's really just the drop of the iceberg. Tip of the iceberg? Or
Tip of the iceberg. Drop in the bucket. Yeah.
Drop in the bucket, tip of the iceberg.
Right.
For what Callanwolde is. Kind of explain to our listeners.
Sure.
What is Callanwolde?
Sure. I mean, primarily we teach art classes, the arts, I should say, because a lot of people just think, well, arts are, art classes are painting, drawing, and so forth. But we also have a huge dance program. I mean, it's. I like to say it's almost easier to say what we don't do than what we do. But we have the largest pottery program.
No, that part, that's finished.
In Georgia, for sure. I'm thinking in the southeast, if you go below Maryland, right? There's a big pottery program in Maryland. But yeah, we're huge, bigger than Georgia State, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, much bigger than Georgia State. I've been investing in it a lot because I keep adding more potter's wheels, more kilns. We still have a 200-person waiting list for our classes, which I'm sorry, people. I keep trying, and
was there
people get
pottery
frustrated.
at the goat farm when they had
That's a good question.
the
I'm not
goat
really sure.
farm is being converted mainly into apartments.
I think they might have had a small pottery program there. I'm sorry, I don't know for sure. I know that Chastain's got a pretty big program.
Yeah.
Sproul does. Sproul's got a great program. I love Sproul.
Are you into like the knife making?
So we have blacksmithing.
Yeah.
And we have. I like to say we do old school really, really well. So we've got we do some digital photography, but we do darkroom photography. Got a huge darkroom. We have weaving. I have to go through all the buildings to remember. We have jewelry making, and that right behind jewelry making is our blacksmithing program. We have music. We do have some music engineering, private classes. People want to do that. Let's see. We have creative drawing, yoga, tai chi, kung fu, sculpture, printmaking, watercolor, all the paints, oil painting, water, acrylic, and of course drawing classes. So quite a few different things, and some of them will be, people say, well, I didn't see this on the, on this quarter's syllabus, but they'll come and go, and then I mean, what's really blown up is our summer camp program, which we call for the younger kids. It starts at 6 years old, goes to 12 years old, and it's called Creative Camp.
Okay.
And that runs, I think it's 8 weeks out of the summer. And we also have a teen program for teens who are really, really into art and they want to work on their portfolios. So that means they want to go to an art school or an art program within a university. So those is very serious stuff, and it's remarkable. And the teachers that we get are excellent. They're, we don't hire like college students or anything like that to teach classes. These are people who teach, either in public school system or private school system, but they teach students, as a career, and super proud of that program. And then the other big thing is, and we have since changed our mission because of it, as we support underserved communities. And that is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger.
So what do you do there?
So we are working with Title I schools. So those are low income kids who are, on the free lunch program. We work with Title III schools, and a lot of people are not familiar with Title III. Those are recent immigrants and refugees. So these are kids that are just coming into the country. And
so do you have a lot of
Lakeside, for example? Lakeside has a big program.
That makes sense.
Yep.
It's a connection because I know Clarkston is the largest refugee.
Yep.
For Georgia.
And we're starting to reach out to other schools, but right now we have a relationship with Lakeside, and so they've been coming in. They'll do come in for like a half day workshops, but these those kids are absolutely amazing. I mean, they are. These are high school kids that are coming in, and I love high school students. Don't get me wrong, I love them. But in big groups like that, they can sometimes be a handful, right? These kids were absolutely amazing. They all wrote us thank you notes afterwards, and when they were working, man, they were very serious about their work, and they loved the opportunity to come and do something with their hands. And there were some amazing artists in the group.
Well, I do know Lakeside has an awesome theater group.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, my son used to be manager of the theater productions when he was in high school, because he's in Georgia State now. But they have an awesome theater group.
That's fantastic.
Because they have that 500 and some seat theater.
Oh, they do.
It's new since you and I have been here.
Oh, I might have to talk to them about our recital programs. Interesting. I'm glad you mentioned that. Then another big group is our veterans.
Okay.
So we work with veterans who live with PTSD, and we're also just started a relationship through the VA with veterans who are transitioning out of homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that program, we are going to. I'm in the middle of putting together a program for. With Hope House. You familiar with Hope House at all?
No.
So Hope House is an amazing place. Started by, it was the brainchild of Shirley Franklin. So apparently when Shirley was mayor of Atlanta, there was a big homeless camp right in front, right across the street from the city hall.
Oh.
Right? And she said, we can do better than that. And I've always liked Shirley Franklin. And she raised money basically to create a rehabilitation center for, there are two qualifications. You need both of these to be considered for Hope House. You have to be homeless, and you have to have a substance abuse problem. And a lot of those go hand in hand. But we conducted an interview with one of our veterans who is a resident at Hope House, Warren, amazing guy, great artist. He said, do you mind if we do the interview at Hope House? We said, sure, we love it. So we're doing this interview, much like we're doing right now. And the program director for Hope House sat in on the interview. And after the interview, he goes, can we talk? Because what you're doing there, what Warren has just told us about Callanwolde, sounds absolutely amazing. And I'd love to get some more of our residents over to Callanwolde if it's possible to do that.
So where is Hope House?
It's right across from City Hall.
Okay, when she said we
Yeah.
could do
So
better, she
literally,
meant
she
right there.
literally built, and it's this this big building. I just saw the front part of it for privacy reasons. That the residents are in the back part of it, but it's got a great location. It's pretty close to Callanwolde, and so we're going to try to put together a program for them to come over on a regular basis to take classes, and they'll all be complimentary. We've been very lucky that folks have gotten very interested in what we're doing with underserved communities. So, and this includes corporations. So Ameris Bank sponsors our program with Title I schools. We have this thing called Art Scholars, and so they provide the funding for 4 different full-day workshops on the days when they're teacher work days.
Okay.
A parent's nightmare, right?
Yeah.
That are always surprises you and say, and especially you have 2 working parents or a single mom working, right? What do you do on teacher work day for your kids? And we're talking 3rd through 5th grade kids, right? So we host those kids at Callanwolde. So we got a partnership with DeKalb County Schools. They provide the transportation, and these kids get food right through the federal food program, which is great. And so they bring the kids, from their school. The parents drop them off at school in the morning, bring them to Callanwolde. They spend the entire day at Callanwolde, and then they take the kids back to their school. The parents pick them up, and it's been just fantastic. And these kids have an absolute ball. We've got this great video of this kid who got up on a chair and said, "This is the best day ever."
That's
and
cool.
just like to everybody in the group, and everybody erupted in this big applause. And it's just like, it makes you cry. It was fantastic.
That's
And
your poster child.
that's our poster child. So we are creating best days ever for these kids, and now we've expanded it. So this summer, part of our summer camp program, we're going to have an entire week dedicated to. We've got one school that we're working with in DeKalb County, and those kids are going to go to our summer camp for free for an entire week, and it's going to be fantastic. And are you familiar with Carla Harris, a jazz singer? She's performed at Callanwolde many times.
No.
She's a fantastic jazz singer. She's, I think, one of the best in Atlanta. She approached us and said, "Hey, I do this thing for kids where we do like a camp for them, where we teach them about the roots of jazz and all the different instruments and so forth, and I bring other musicians with me. Would you love to do this?" And so she's going to work during that week as part of because we rotate the kids out during the day, kind of like a kaleidoscope thing where they get a little drawing, they get clay, they get some movement, and then they're going to have this music program as well. So shout out to Carla Harris, who's fantastic. She's going to be performing at Jazz this year.
I was going to say, we haven't gotten to the jazz
that's
concert
like
series
yeah.
yet.
I haven't announced that fully, so
okay.
I have to hold that back. So
That'd be in May.
no, actually, it's in end of August.
No, I mean.
In May. Yes, that's right. In May. That's right. That's right. What we announced. But
we jumped into the jazz series.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. I know
Sure.
it's outdoor.
Yeah.
But you can explain it a lot better.
Sure. Absolutely. So this will be our 24th year of Jazz on the Lawn. It actually started on our front lawn, and then when we built the amphitheater, we've moved it there.
Okay, I was thinking it's on your patio around the house, so it's at the actual amphitheater.
It's back in the amphitheater. I would say it's very civilized. You can come and bring your own food and drink. We encourage people to bring their own food and drink. It's terraced right in front of the stage, so we set up tables, and we call that kind of our VIP section. And people can buy, they buy tables, but there's a lot of space on the lawn as well, and people bring their own chairs and blankets and so forth, and it's a great date night. I got so lucky last year. Our first concert last year was a young singer called Samara Joy, who, if you watched the Grammys this year, you discovered that she won Best New Artist.
Don't you love when you have
Oh,
the artists
man.
before they're big?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I can't afford her anymore. But I had been listening to NPR, and this was years ago actually, and they were talking about how this this young woman had just at 19 years old won the Sarah Vaughan International Vocal Competition. I'm like, wow, that sounds pretty good. She just called up her agent. And I said, hey, how would you like to come? She had never been to Atlanta before, so it was her first concert in Atlanta, which was pretty cool. And she, so it was about 2 years in advance of the actual concert. And so by that time, she had gotten really, really quite famous. And but before the Grammys. And so I was able to afford her because I don't want to have to charge crazy, crazy prices for tickets, right? We're a community arts center. And then by the time the concert happened, it was our biggest concert ever. And I figured out what sold out looked like at concerts. Yeah. It's 550 people. So it was absolutely incredible night. And I can say that I met her, and all these people can say who attended that evening. I saw, Samara Joy when she first came to Atlanta, her very first concert in Atlanta, because now she's playing the Atlanta Jazz Festival. She's one of the headliners of the Atlanta Jazz Festival. So she's hit the big time. And and then we have, and this is kind of crazy, as a result of the pandemic, we have the spring concert series.
I was thinking that was fairly new.
Yeah, and we had our first concert this past Friday. It was incredible.
So this is the first year.
This is the third year.
Third year. Okay.
Yeah. So we were the one of the only venues in Atlanta that had live on-site music during the pandemic.
But that kind of works. You're outside, and once everybody started being able to leave the house at all, then it works perfectly.
We created a pod system for the lawn. So we got out, tape and taped off, different pod sizes. They started out as 2-person and 4-person pods. Yeah. And then by the end of the, people, can we have a 30-person pod? I'm like, sure. It's up to you. It's about your own safety and how big is your bubble, right?
Right.
But we created a lot of friends doing that because nobody was able to do anything. And if you're used to date night and you go out, we go out to dinner on Fridays, or we go to see this such and such or the symphony or the whatever, and you're used to that and it all got taken away, boy, you really miss it. And people were practically in tears talking to me saying, I cannot express to you how grateful we are that you are going to the trouble of doing this, because it's saving our lives because we're about ready to go out of our minds. And we had a lot of people there that were just there by themselves, who lived by themselves, and which I can't imagine during that time, and not be able to have contact with other people and, do things. And so we also, dual therapy.
That's true.
I like to say.
So that's a summer concert series, and you have the fall concert series.
That's spring. Yep, that's spring. We have four of those. So they started this last on March 31st. So every other Friday we have 3 more to go there. And then in the fall that starts the last Friday of August, and that's five concerts. So
it rolls you right into your Christmas at Callanwolde.
Exactly, which is we call Winter House now.
Okay.
Yep, because that's a little bit. It's different from Christmas at Callanwolde. Christmas at Callanwolde, the house was decorated by designers, each room, which was great. It served its purpose for many, many years. Now we've completely changed that. We still decorate the house, but we don't. We hire some folks to help us out a little bit, but now it's more of an open house, so you don't have to pay to come in. All the rooms are accessible. With Christmas at Callanwolde, you couldn't have food and drinks in the rooms because they had all this fancy furniture. You couldn't sit on the furniture. So what we've done is we've got different rooms having different things going on. So in the big courtyard, our big courtyard, we'll have either performances in there or workshops. So, decorate, gingerbread houses and wreath making and things like that. we've had candle making. These workshops are fantastic. You could do a throwing on the wheel class, right? And those
Oh,
are the
wow.
classes that I was telling you about. There's like 200-person waiting list, but you can do a 2-hour class and try out throwing on the wheel, right? Find out if you even like it instead of having to take a whole class. And raku, which is another amazing thing. It's an ancient Japanese technique where you glaze something that's already been bisque fired, and you put it in this kiln, and the kiln raises and lowers, right? So you get it really hot. It's been glazed, right? And you pull it out of the kiln, blazing hot, and you put it into something flammable.
Oh, wow.
And it kind of puts a little crackle of the glaze and all these kind of crazy colors. You've probably seen this stuff, just not known it was raku, and it's really beautiful. But we do ornaments and things like that. Speaking of ornaments, we have you can glaze your own mugs or ornaments, and I like to pride ourselves in our mugs. They're all dishwasher safe, microwave safe, really, really super high quality because we high fire them. And then we have on the upper level where our gallery is, all of our artists. So these are our students and teachers' work, and we do a huge business because it's all the pottery, the jewelry making, weaving, incredible. It's like I seem like I buy a scarf every year. These incredible scarves, and then some 2D work. So this might be some photography or painting and things like that. And that's like big business, right? So people come in and buy that. We've got a few bars set up, so you can buy beer and wine. We have s'more kits.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So we have fire pits out on the front terrace.
Yep.
And then in the winter living room, remember that big fireplace you can practically stand up in?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, you all
We're
were
doing
there.
s'mores there.
You were there for your gala.
Yeah.
So we sell the s'more kits, and you could roast
You
marshmallows.
kicked the s'mores off. You went over.
Oh, that's
started
right.
doing
I was
it.
the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. But and then we set up tables in a lot of the other rooms, and we put old-fashioned board games out. And it is so much fun, and I think the parents really love it because their kids are not, on their devices. They're playing. I bring in my own chess set. Matter of fact, they're playing chess.
At our party, there was guests playing chess.
Were they
and stuff like that?
That's
yes.
that's my personal
I
chess
thought
set.
that was very cool.
Yeah, that I brought from home.
Yeah.
So, and Scrabble and all kinds of stuff. And it's really, really fun to see people using the mansion. They get to act like they're candlers for an evening, right? And then we pull our beautiful Steinway piano out from the music room into the Great Hall. And we have folks playing the piano out there on certain evenings where we don't have a ticketed event in the courtyard. And when I say courtyard, of course, it's enclosed. It used to be open, but it's enclosed. And then we have this incredible dance program. Our Geraldine Warner is our dance director, and she has been producing her own, writing her own holiday dance performances for years. And we get people, usually, you think of those things, oh yeah, the parents come, the grandparents come, the brothers and sisters come. We get people from outside of Callanwolde to come watch these things because they're that good. And the last 2 years, we had the Ebenezer Baptist Choir Church of Atlanta come and perform at the end of the performances. They're kind of like the grand finale. Oh man. If you're not in the holiday spirit after you see all this, there's something wrong because it's just amazing. And then we also have trees around. We've got typically we get like a 12 to 16 foot tree we put in the winter living room because it's got those huge ceiling.
Yeah. And
we buy 12, and I always get fresh cut trees because they smell so great. So people just come by and they take pictures. They'll for their holiday cards. Oh, and we've got our own Santa as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which is great. So you're not dealing with the big mall scene and, which can be crazy sometimes. I mean, nothing against the malls at all. I mean, I think that's great for a lot of folks, but ours is more low key, and we try to make everything, affordable for everybody and very approachable. I think it's probably, we've drawn the most diverse crowds of any public events we've ever done at Winter House in the last couple of years. I was so happy to see that. It was amazing.
Well, one of the other things as you were talking, because the main, I guess the great room with the huge staircase.
Yes.
It's just a perfect setting for you all doing weddings, wedding receptions, things
That's right.
like that.
That's right. You're teeing me up.
Yeah.
To selling weddings. That's right. So the way we make Callanwolde work, because it's an expensive place to operate, and we, our classes are very affordable, are weddings, and we have weddings, typically Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Since we're on 12 acres and we've got the beautifully landscaped, lawns, gardens, and so forth, many times their ceremonies will be held out what we call the hydrangea garden, which is a big circular garden. It's very private because it's got a big hedge around it and some hydrangeas. So they'll have ceremony there or on the front lawn, or there's a lot of places to do it. And then they have the reception inside the mansion. And you're talking a 27,000 square foot mansion that's over 100 years old. It's beautiful with walnut floors and walnut paneling and kind of Gothic on the inside with limestone arches. It's beautiful. And a lot of people, in the colder or real hot months, the ceremonies will be in the Great Hall. And that the grand staircase, as we call it, seeing brides and, and grooms too. We're open, so we have a lot of different folks come, which is wonderful. Getting married at Callanwolde, so they'll come down that staircase, and it's one of the most photographed staircases in Atlanta because of it. And then the receptions are in the courtyard, which works out perfectly. And they got a beautiful view of the fountain and the carriage house. Yeah, it works out really well, and it helps. So when people do that, they are supporting our mission when they get married at Callanwolde, which is wonderful. That helps us do all these other programs, because when you're providing free classes for veterans and the Title I, Title III kids, and I forgot to mention low-income seniors. That's a new one that we're going to be starting this year. They're supporting all that programming.
So what are you doing with low-income seniors?
So we are going to start. We took a look at who was impacted the most by the pandemic, and seniors are, many seniors are isolated, and isolation is horrible for your health.
Definitely.
Horrible. And when, there's a lot of research that shows when you work with your hands creatively, it lowers stress. And of course, when you're around other people, our classes are all very social, It's a fun thing when you're doing art, it's something where you can be talking to other people. It's not like you're writing and you have to be silent, All the writing classes are great too, but it to get folks working with their hands and working creatively and using that part of their brain just helps them forget about, if they've got worries and things like that, and gets them social, which we think is, really an important service to the community. So those are, the folks that, when you go down the list, those are the folks. And then we have financial aid for folks that just, need financial aid. Our dance program is very intense. It's one of these things where you commit for 9 months of classes, right?
Wow.
And that gets expensive, right? 9 months of classes can be expensive. So we provide a lot of financial aid, especially to our dance students. You've got situations where people's circumstances change. People get sick, cancer, whatever it might be. And a student was taking classes, and suddenly they come to us and say, well, we can't afford to take classes anymore. And we figure out ways so that they can, because we know, of all the times that kid needs to take a dance class, is when their mother is sick, right?
True.
I mean, just to keep things as normal as possible. And and dance is such an incredible thing in our program. It'll blow you away if you haven't seen a dance program. Our what we call the pro prime movers. We have a prime mover program, Our pro prime movers, you'd be hard pressed to distinguish them from professional dancers. They're incredible.
So where do they do their programming? Because you don't. Is it at their outdoor amphitheater? Or?
So we actually use our courtyard.
Okay.
They're smaller, right? They're more intimate.
The courtyard, which is the indoor facility.
The indoor facility, where we hold concerts in there sometimes as well. But we can fit about 120 people in there,
Okay.
and then we put out the Marley floors and so forth so that they can perform. And so those holiday performances are not just dancing, but there's some acting involved as well, and there's a storyline throughout it. It's really fun, It's kind of something different. Our Santa usually has some sort of cameo appearance in the thing as well. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's fun.
So do you all have any expansion plans? What's your future goals for Callanwolde?
We do, but they're top
Can you
secret.
share it?
They're
Oh.
top secret. We do. I'll just say that in general, the fact that we have a 200-person waiting list for classes, especially for pottery, might give you some indication of where we need expansion. Dance is another area that needs dedicated space. We've been doing it in the mansion for a long time. The mansion was never really designed for dance classes. Obviously, it was someone's home. So we're looking at something for that. Details are, if you're familiar with capital campaigns, you have the quiet phase and you have the public phase. Right now, we're in the quiet phase.
Okay.
But so that's what we're looking at. And we're doing a feasibility study to see how much money we can raise, and so we can see how much we can afford to build. We also have some plans to do some much needed repairs on our existing buildings, because I don't want to start working on something else until we've got our house in order, so to speak. And so we're doing that. DeKalb's already helping us out with a big part of that on the mansion, which is great. One of our terraces and our portico entrance needs some work, and we've already got a commitment. Jeff Rader was able to make that happen before Michelle Longspears replaced him. Michelle is now on our board, which is great. Yep, which is great. And Jeff was on our board. So yes, there are things in the works, and more details. Stay tuned.
Oh, we'll have to bring you back to hear the
Stay
rest
tuned.
of these details.
Yes. But really exciting stuff.
We have to renovate the mansion, because I really view the mansion as your office. So I figure the concept is you want to get all the programming out. So Andrew has a 25,000 square foot office.
Yeah, no. Actually, we want to keep programming in the mansion. We want to do more with the mansion, but if we move dance, it frees up for other things, like a lot of these other things I was just talking about with underserved communities. So right now we've got dance floor down in a lot of spaces, and we are constantly rolling it up, putting it down, rolling it up, putting it down, rolling it up, putting it down. That stuff weighs a ton.
A lot of staff.
And believe it or not, the tape that we use is really, really, really expensive, because when you're putting this down on nice hardwood floors, you don't want to ruin the floors, and you will, using the wrong tape. And this Marley is not cheap either, and so you have to put padding down underneath it. So it takes hours and hours to deal with this, and it's just not practical. And then if we do free up the mansion, we can put things in there that have lower impact on 100-year-old plus mansion. And that's, important to me, because I don't want to be the guy, 100 years from now, they say, what was that guy thinking? I want to be the guy that they say, I'm glad he made the investment in this beautiful historic mansion, that we can still be enjoying it today. Because, look at downtown Atlanta. They push and they pry, like, we got to get people downtown. It's tough. They tore down all the cool old buildings. And they almost tore down Callanwolde. Unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Yeah, Atlanta's not big on old.
Well, I will say they are now. I think they've learned their lesson. I think they have. The more I talk about it with folks, and And I think they're really making an investment now, with the Beltline, some of those things. I think they're starting to realize the value.
I
in
guess
some of those
Pond
things.
City Market, Krog Street.
Oh yeah,
Those are all older factories or warehouses that have been saved.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, there's a lot of new stuff going up in between it, of course, but
It goes together though.
It does.
You're keeping the old and putting the new.
I'm a believer in urban density. I mean, it was we were built to be dense in town. We need a little more public transportation to help facilitate that, but they're working on that as well. So yeah, I see progress. And the Druid Hills neighborhood, frankly, when I moved to the Druid Hills neighborhood in '99, there were quite a few houses that needed a lot of work. And there has been a huge investment into that neighborhood. And I want to see that same investment at Callanwolde. Because you think about how valuable that real estate is. And it's criminal not to, really put your, not to invest in it and really have the most, the most beautiful homes. Because the bones that we have are incredible.
Right.
And
the land you have in the space.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've got a responsibility. This is our time. We have the responsibility to leave it a little bit better for the next generation of folks that come in.
Well, that's why you're perfect. I mean, going back to your opening, art, advertising, environmental consultant, and financial planner. What's more perfect?
I needed to have something in construction, though, James. I should have been a contractor for a little while or something, because.
Well, you were. What'd you say? You were a bellman? So went up and down.
I go to up and downstairs. That's for sure. Yeah, that's funny. No, I mean I like to joke because I'm fairly dressed up today, but many days, I don't know where I'm gonna be. Yeah. I'm on the roof sometimes. Because you look, there could be an issue with something on the roof.
Yeah. And
I got to go up and see it. So I wear sensible shoes, and I am going up and down. I get my steps in, which is nice. And we're on this big peak, it's ridge line.
Okay.
Callanwolde is not the tallest, right? But it's among the tallest spots in Atlanta, which is interesting.
Did not know that at all.
Yeah. So we're the tallest spot in Druid Hills for sure in that area, because everything drops off on all sides. That's why we've got that beautiful view of Midtown from our property, right from the parking lot. And if you go up on the roof, it's incredible what you can see, and it really illustrates it. And so, literally, they built we have 8 different buildings, and only one's down below, and that was the old pool house. And they used an existing spring to feed the water in that pool house. And I've talked to Candler descendants, and they said that was the coldest pool you'd ever go in. But it was great in the summertime, right? Because you want the cold water when it's 90 degrees.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And no air conditioning, right, back then. So it's.
And that's a cool building. If I'm not mistaken, it's like 2 floors, 2
yeah,
levels.
it's 2 floors. It's the Sam Goldman Retreat, and we use it for dance mainly.
Yeah, I remember that building many years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. Vaulted ceiling, and it's got the stone floor, and yeah, it's gorgeous. All the buildings are great. They're all extremely well built.
Well, luckily, running a CVB, I've only had one in Mississippi where we owned the Tennessee Williams home and did a restoration. So I did a lot of things like you, but most of the time, we're in offices or out visiting. But the Tennessee Williams home with a restoration project there was kind of interesting.
That must have been really fascinating. I love old homes and.
Yeah, we created the Tennessee Williams Library on the 2nd floor, and then we also took the room that he slept in and converted that into a bedroom. So it was a lot of fun. So I get a few of the things that you're talking about.
That's awesome.
There.
Yeah.
Here we get to sell it all, so it's very
cool. Which I appreciate very much.
Well, with that, is there anything you want to close with? Important dates, important information, just kind of open the door to anything?
Well, I mean, right now we've got our spring concert series. We still have tickets to the concerts, and like I said, it's so the next concert is on April the 14th, and then 2 weeks from then there'll be another concert. 2 weeks from that there'll be another concert, and it's our lineup is a band called Dwayne Shivers. Kind of a funny name.
Dwayne Shivers.
Yeah, it's Micah Dalton is the lead singer. He helped start ATL Collective, and ATL Collective is a group of musicians, and I think they all kind of work together. And if when they need a drummer, they need a bass player. I may be screwing this up totally, but that's my understanding of it. And he's incredibly talented. And then we have the next concert is Ruby Vale and the Soulphonics, and Ruby is that concert will probably sell out. Its ticket sales are pretty robust. Ruby is very, very popular. She kind of does this R&B thing, and man, she's absolutely amazing. Her band is great too. And then the last concert is Luke Winslow King. He is a Delta blues guitar player.
Maybe that's the reason he seems familiar.
Yeah.
Because of being from Mississippi near the Delta.
And he is, so he's kind of lived all over the place. I think he might be residing in Europe right now, believe it or not. But he was from Cadillac, Michigan, which I thought was kind of funny since I'm from Michigan.
Yeah.
And I know Cadillac really well. That's where his roots are. But that's going to be fantastic too. So I get to pick out all the bands. That's one of the perks of being the executive director. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it is fun. Yeah. Well, thanks. This has been terrific.
So tell us, anybody is interested in tickets or to know more about Callanwolde, how do they find you?
So our website, super easy, callanwolde.org. And you go to our homepage and it's, we have links to everything. We also sell tickets through Eventbrite. So if you search through Eventbrite for Callanwolde, you'll also find that as well. And that takes you right to the, ticket purchase. So.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much for being on our podcast, and looking forward to working with you for all your events coming up this year.
Absolutely. Thanks, James.
Thank you.
All right.